Good day, ma'am. I am Shar'z F. Inuhada from BEd 3B, and this is my final oral presentation in our subject, Teaching Multigrades in Elementary Grades. First question is, differentiate parallel instruction from differentiated split class team teaching. Parallel instructions. In this setting, the class is divided into two groups, and each teacher is responsible for teaching the same materials to his or her smaller group, while split differentiated instruction divided into smaller group according to their needs. Each instructor provides respective group with the instructions required to meet their learning needs. The second question is, how would you define the following? A. Team teaching. B. Peer teaching. C. Direct teaching. D. Indirect teaching. Team teaching can be defined as a group of two or more teachers working together to plan, conduct, and evaluate the learning activities for the same group of learners. It defined team teaching as simply teamwork between two qualified teachers who together make a presentation to an audience. Peer teaching is all about teaching peers and learning from their peers, which involves learners and teachers of the same or different age group or level of intelligence. This assisted teaching helps the students to enhance their teaching skills. In addition to this, they get a platform to perform what they know, which they pave them to drive away from the stage fear within themselves. And the direct teaching is the method that is used when the teacher is in the classroom and give training to the student. Teacher conduct their education by connecting with their students and the physical world through verbal, speech, expression, and behaviors. We can call this form of education teacher directed because the teacher stands in the classroom and lectures to the student. The indirect teaching is a student-oriented education method. In this teaching, the teacher gives the necessary materials to the students rather than offering a live lesson in the classroom environment. The indirect teaching provides the students with problem solving, decision making, and detailed thinking skills. Fifth question. Discuss each type of peer teaching. A. One-way peer teaching. B. Duplex or reciprocal peer teaching. C. Class-wide peer tutoring. D. Crisscross or cross-age peer teaching. One-way peer teaching is this way of peer teaching provide only the trained tutor to teach, whereas the child with some kind of disability will remain passive. This method will be more useful for teaching students with severe disorder like autism, visual impairment, or cerebral palsy. Joke. Fifth question is, discuss each type of peer teaching. A. One-way peer teaching. B. Duplex or reciprocal peer teaching. C. Class-wide peer tutoring. D. Crisscross or cross-age peer teaching. So, One way, peer teaching. In this way of peer teaching, it provides only the trained tutor to teach, whereas the child with some kind of disability will remain passive. This method will be more useful for teaching students with severe disorders like autism, visual impairment, or cerebral palsy. The duplex or reciprocal peer teaching. This is a two-way of bidirectional teaching process where a student with a disability is paired with a student without disability to form a dyad or pair, and both of them will get chances to teach and learn. And the class-wide peer teaching. This methodology of teaching involves grouping the entire class into peers and peers mentoring each other by giving prompts, error and correction, and helping each other. This method is incomparable because every student is given cue cards for the task to keep them focused on a goal on the chapter, and then the tutor takes the cue cards and marks the scale mastered by the partly student. And crisscross or cross-age peer tutoring. Peer teaching is a method of tutoring when children is different age group and ability levels are paired together and work a task. The elder of the student with a higher level of intelligence will assign as the tutor, whereas the other will the tutee. This method will help them to improve their interpersonal skills too. Sixth question. Give at least 5 characteristics of discussion method. Characteristic of the discussion method. First, the discussion method is two-way communication and everyone should treat each other with respect regardless of the number of participants. Second, the teacher should divide the students into small or large groups according to the subject or the number of people. Third, during this discussion, the students talked while the teacher observed, listened, and analyzed the environment. Fourth, the discussion method is an active learning experience as students perform the speaking process more than the teacher. Fifth, as a helper and guide to the student, the teacher determines the subject. Seventh question. Explain one input, many activities, shared output as a strategy in teaching multigrade classroom. Give one example. One input, many activities, shared output. This is a strategy that teacher can use in a multigrade setting. Teachers plan for a shared experience with the whole class. For example, the experience could be shared reading with a book or an excursion to an interesting venue. The experience is used as a springboard to develop different learning activities. The activities are designed to meet the learning objectives identified by the teacher for the multigrade. Example, they will cover more than one grade. Students work in a group on different tasks, which meet different outcomes. Representatives from each of the group come together and share with complete work. Each representative talks about the work that has been done and how it was completed. The unit may be completed by bringing all groups together for a shared output, where students create the class piece of work representative of all groups in the classroom. A simple example for this strategy could be when a teacher reads a story to the 3/4 class. Group 1 draws a picture from the story. Group 2 writes the story in vernacular or in their own words. Group 3 creates a different ending for the story. The level of difficulty and outcomes expected and varied for each group. Last question. A. What would you consider when you are going to select a story or tale? Letter B. What would you consider when telling a story? Letter C. What would you consider after telling a story? Answer in letter A. But behind your favorite story is a strong structure made up of the essential elements of storytelling: plot, character, setting, theme, point of view, and tone. With these basic building blocks and some wonderful writing, any story can be the next bestseller. Answer in letter B. There are many different ways to structure a story, but the three ingredients of a story must have their area: the beginning, middle, and the end. On a more granular level, a successful story will start with an inciting incident, would lead into rising and ultimately settle into a satisfying resolution. The answer of letter C is the student often finish a reading, close the book, and don't think about it again until they arrive in class. The following activities can be used after reading to help students analyze concepts for a deeper understanding of ideas and organize information for later retrieval. That's all. Thank you.